Hey guys, it's Rod with Civil Advantage Firearms Training here, and another episode of Ask Civil Advantage. So the point of this one is to answer the question once and for all that I keep getting, no matter how many videos that I put up, and then I answer the question in the comments. I still keep getting the question, how can you have 10 rounds in a semi-automatic centerfire rifle? And I keep telling them, yeah, it's a pistol mag. So I'm going to tell you where this rule comes from, give you a little bit of extra information that's really handy, really important, and a little bit of an anecdote as well. So where this rule comes from, where you're going to find it, and the link is here below, is on the Canadian Firearm Center website. If you look under information for businesses, you look at special bulletins under that business section, and it is special bulletin number 72, and it deals with all these different magazine loopholes, if you want to call them that, or clarifications on why rules are a certain way. So the real important one is magazines designed for one firearm but used in a different firearm. So if you have a cartridge magazine that was specifically designed for a semi-automatic pistol, it is completely legal to take that magazine and put it into a semi-automatic rifle if it will work in that rifle. That's okay. And the Firearm Center identifies certain magazines as being designed for a certain firearm. One of them is the Rock River Arms LAR 15 magazine, which is this guy right here. You can buy these by the truckload from any gun store in Canada, I'm sure, and it's totally legal. The reason why I'm going out of my way a little bit to name this one and all the rest of that stuff is recently up in Squamish, British Columbia, which is a little bit south of Whistler, British Columbia. Some of you guys in the States will know where Whistler is. The Olympics were held there a couple years back. But there's a video, and here's a link to it, of some young guys who have gone out of their way to spend the big money on a Robinson Arms XCR so they can go shoot a kind of a fun semi-auto rifle in the bush. They've gone out of their way to spend money on the LAR 50 and have these stupid short mags around so that they can have a little bit of fun and shoot 10 rounds and still be legal. They're going out of their way and spending thousands of dollars of unnecessary money to stay legal. They get approached by an RCMP officer who says, "Oh, you guys are screwed. You have a prohibited firearm." They're like, "No, that's a Robinson Arms XCR. It's non-restricted, and those are Rock River Arms LAR 15 magazines, and they're fine. Their pistol mags fits in the rifle, totally legal." The guy goes, "Nope. The minute that you take this pistol mag and put it in a rifle, it's prohibited." God knows what this guy was thinking. I have no idea. No idea at all. But whatever. So apparently, and I don't know, if you're the guy that this happened to, give me some details, or just if you don't want them up on here, just email me, tell me what happened. But apparently his firearms were seized. I had to go to the detachment to get them back, and he got an apology because the officer was completely wrong. And what I did was I left a comment to tell on his video to tell that officer to come and see me and take the Canadian Firearm Safety course. And I don't mean that in a facetious way. And I'm going to defend these guys real quick, briefly, because what happens to these guys is they get thrown into depot, which is where the RCMP officers are trained, in Saskatchewan, no less. They throw them in depot for 6 months. These guys have to learn how to go hands-on with people, how to drive their car and smash people off the road if need be. They have to learn how to do firearms. They have to learn all these different prohibited items they have to seize. They have to learn the criminal code, the Firearms Act, the Liquor Control Act, the Motor Vehicle Act. They have to learn all this stuff in 6 months. And so they are generalists. A very close law enforcement friend of mine told me that there's 17 different laws, regulations that apply to U-turns. Sometimes I think I'm kind of smart, other times not so much. But sometimes I think, yeah, I'm pretty perceptive. But you know what? I would never remember all that stuff. So I guess this officer's mistake was that he didn't remember, but he decided to lie his way out of it, which of course is not acceptable. He knows that. We know it. I know, and I'm not mad, but because it didn't happen to me. I'm sure I would be if it did happen to me. But all this coming to a point, long story long again, but all this is the point is that you as a firearm owners need to know the law, and you need to know it cold, and you need to know how to deal with a situation like this. So, if he had the misfortune of coming up to me and telling me what the law isn't, I would just say, listen, no disrespect, man, but you're wrong. Okay? Check out Special Bulletin number 72 on the Canadian Firearms website. I know you guys have access to that stuff in the car. Why don't you go look at that before you seize my firearms? Because that wouldn't make me very happy. I'm just telling you. And I'll wait here, no problem. If you want to put the rifle in your trunk while you check, I have no problem with that. Here's all my ID. Because the thing is, you need to know it. And that's not the only situation that I've heard of where police officers get themselves in a situation where they're wrong and they try to lie their way out of it. I'm not saying this is rampant, right? I'm not beating up on the officers. It's a tough job. I just finished telling you how tough it actually is, and it is. One of the reasons I'm not a police officer, I'm not cut out for that kind of work, right? So have a little patience with those guys. If you're a law enforcement officer watching this, man, know the law, man. You can't seize people's stuff illegally and expect to just walk away and just like, yeah, well, you're tough luck because it was my bad day, right? We all got to work together on this if this whole system's going to work. So, sorry about the big diatribe, but it's important to know why it's so important to know the law code. So if you look at Special Bulletin for Businesses number 72, point number 4, magazines designed for one firearm but used in a different firearm. It says right here, I'm going to paraphrase to make it quick, that is okay. And they even have an example. And they say, a similar example is a 10-round capacity magazine for the Rock River Arms LAR-15 pistol, regardless of the kind of firearm it is actually used in. Black and white, there it is. Here's another one. The Marlin Model 45 Camp Carbine rifle chambered for .45 auto caliber uses magazines designed and manufactured for the Colt 1911 handgun. Therefore, these 7-round and 8-round capacities are permitted. Okay, so they even have the actual brand names and stuff in here. So make sure you take a minute and read it. Now, here's one more snag with magazine capacity limits that you might get into. Point number 5, magazines for semi-automatic handguns which contain more than 10 rounds of a different caliber. What does that mean? It means that if I have a Glock Model 17, right, 9mm, I can take a magazine, a Glock mag, from a Glock 22, which is 40 cal, and I can put 9mm cartridges in it, and I can put 13 of them in there. And I can put that in my Glock Model 17. So now I'm shooting a 13-round magazine in my 9mm pistol. That works, guys. I don't know if it works a lot, because I haven't done a lot, but I've tried it and it works. And guys that do it all the time will tell you, yeah, that works pretty good. Also, I can put one in the chamber for 14 rounds. Remember, a magazine's capacity limit is a magazine capacity limit, not a firearm capacity limit. So putting one in the chamber and putting a full mag in is okay. All right, having said that, so that's one example of a firearm cartridge magazine used in a different firearm is okay even if it contains more rounds. Another example are those new Beowulf, 50 caliber Beowulf magazines that fit inside of an AR-15. You can get 15 rounds of .223 in there. Here's a link below of where you can get these magazines. It says right here, it's okay. And countless people have called the Firearm Center to make sure, because it's almost like it's too good to be true. Like, I can shoot more than 5? This is too good to be true. Well, I'll tell you this, guys. I think despite a lot of the gripes that we have with laws that are prejudicial and ineffective, and some that are good, right? I mean, you guys know that I believe in licensing and some other things to keep the guns out of bad people's hands. But when it comes to that kind of stuff, the Firearm Center has actually been quite good to us. And I think that they see these loopholes. They could have worked with the RCMP to create regulations, special regulations to stop us from doing that kind of stuff, and they haven't. They know that if I'm going to go out of my way to buy this magazine and buy a gun that's $3,000 just to shoot non-restricted, I'm sure the heck not going to go there with an illegal magazine and start, put everything, into jeopardy. Even if I was a millionaire, I wouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. So they've been kind of protecting us a little bit on that. In my opinion, I don't know. So remember, if you can fit more than the prescribed number of rounds in a magazine, but if it's in another firearm, no problem. That's totally fine. And same thing with the 10-round mags in a rifle, all the rest of that stuff. You guys, I beat that to death. You guys know what that is. Do yourself a favor and print some of this stuff off. Or at least be able to quote those sections. Write it on the back of your ATT or your registration. Well, we don't do registrations anymore, but just have it somewhere. Or just know those numbers, right? Because it's at least it'll give people pause to think, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should check that regulation before I take this guy's property. Maybe they're right. Give them a way out of that too, right? So anyway, be polite. It's a tough job, but that's the skinny on that. So hopefully that answers those questions. Hopefully I've been clear enough and answered those questions once and for all. If you guys have more information, put it in the comments below. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.